Hey guys, SGT Nickel here again, and today I wanted to go over some edible plants. Right here we're looking at salal. It's a very thick leaf. Well, this grows a berry that's quite tasty. It's called salal berry. It's very similar to blueberry in taste and looks. It's sort of a sticky, fuzzier berry though, but quite good. That you can make jam out of them or just eat them as is. If you eat too many of any berries, you need to be careful because they are diuretic. They can create stomach discomfort and also give you diarrhea. So just a couple little warnings about eating berries in the woods. This one here with the spiky leaf, that's Oregon grape. It's very similar to salal. This is salal. This one here is Oregon grape. As you can see, the difference is the salal leaves, they just come out sort of every which way. There's not really a set pattern too much. The Oregon leaf, they come out evenly on each side. And both berries are edible. The Oregon grape is a very sour, tart berry. They're better for making jam and juices. If you eat them as is, they're good as a thirst quencher. But I find them to be pretty tart that, in my opinion, I don't quite like them. And just right here, just a few steps over here, you've got sword fern. I'll try and find a better plant that's in better light. Here, we'll go over this one. Here's a nice one. So, lots of sword fern. It grows very big. And sword fern is green all year round. Some ferns, they're only up seasonally, like fiddleheads and maidens. Sword fern also produce fiddleheads, but they don't come out till later. But you have other bracken fern, you have maiden fern, and a few others that produce a fiddlehead, and they're more seasonal. These ones will produce a fiddlehead during the time of year, but it stays out all year round. There's not much that can be done with the leaf other than identifying the plant. As you can see, those leaves, they're not even like the Oregon grape, they're actually staggered. That's how you can tell sword fern. And the leaves are very thick. They're quite thick in texture, and they come out jaggedly like swords. So giving its name sword fern. And the thing that's edible about that is its root. What you would do is, it's a gnarly chore to do, so you got to be really hungry to do it. But you can tear out all that dirt, and you pull out this huge bulb of the root, and you want to clean out all the hairs, get off all the dirt. You pull off all the leaves, of course, and cut all the branches off it. And you'll end up with this big, massive, tangled root. And you want to get that as clean as you can. And then you boil the shit out of it. And you end up with a really starchy potato-like substance. And you can eat that. I'm not saying it tastes great. In fact, I have tried it. It's very bland, but it'll keep you alive. It'll give you carbohydrates and all that. So, something good to know if you're desperate and you really need to eat something. There's 3 sources of food, all within more or less arm's reach, just right here. So just showing you. So that's just the Oregon grape, salal, and sword fern. So we've got a lot of plants here. This is a maple. It's not out yet because it's too early. It's February right now. That there is a Douglas fir. There's a lot of Douglas fir in here. We got a western red cedar. That's right over there. It's with the flat, not really needles, but hard to describe what they're called. But that's a red cedar. The nice thing about cedar is you can make clothing from its bark. You can also use it as a pesticide. You can smoke it and use it also once again as a pesticide. And you can also use it as a sanitizer. You can. It's a very good disinfectant as well. So those are the handy things of cedar. You can just take the cedar needles up there, rub them in your hands, and it works well as a deodorizer as well. Just as long as you're not of course allergic to cedar. Some people are. So yeah, here's another cedar tree just right here. So I don't know if you know cedar or not, but it's got this real flat sort of pine needle thing. Sorry about the lighting. It's the sun's getting a little low right now, but that's cedar. Just right there. And we got lots of trees here like grand fir and Douglas fir. Not too much can be done with them other than building. We got ocean spray, which I don't see any of right in this vicinity, and I'll talk about that when I find some. So yeah, now when you're in my area, the best way to find north, of course, is moss will always grow on the north side of the tree. I'll try and find a good example. This is a good example. I just don't know if the camera's picking it up because of how dark it is, but I'll point it out because it's so dark. I know you can't see it. On this side here, there's no moss. That's the south side of the tree. And on the north side of the tree, there's a lot of moss. All for the west coast. This works great for finding north. It won't give you exact north, but it'll give you an approximate. Because you'll look at over this tree here, you'll see actually the moss is on this side, and this side's bare. But what you do is you go down to the base of the tree, and then the base will always tell you. So, and this doesn't work for just one tree. You need to look at a bunch of trees and then get your average of which trees have most of the moss facing on which side. And then you can figure north. And this is just a rough guide. It's not going to be bang on. It's not your code of law per se. It's just sort of like a rough guide. You're better off with other methods to find north. If you're in places like, Whitehorse up in the Yukon or up in the Northwest Territories, places like that, moss will grow wherever it can, so it just does not apply. But it works better when you're down on the 49th parallel, and I know it works for that area. Just don't know about whether you get further south, what happens. So anyway, we're just moving on. So can tell that we've got just lots of salal along here and lots of different trees. So we'll move in, and that there is a vine maple. This tree right here. Once again, the leaves aren't out yet. It's too early. There's a cherry tree, but it doesn't have any leaves out. You can tell by the bark that it's a cherry tree, and the maple, it's sort of a white colored bark. Oh, and now moss is pretty handy to use. You can always use it if, let's say you've cut yourself really badly, bullet wounds for instance, or any other kind of area. If you have a puncture wound and you're bleeding and you need to basically block the bleeding, it basically works well as a field bandage. And what you do is, here, I'll just quickly show you. Come over here where you can get some, and you pull this out like so, and you have this clump. Well, you don't put it dirt side down. You'll end up with a nasty infection. You put it better clean side down, and this is worst case scenario. Okay, you only do this in worst case scenario. You don't do this if you have field stripping and field bandages. But then you put this on your wound. Let's say this leaf here is on skin, and that's your wound. What you would do is you just put this down onto your wound, and then tie a bunch of gauze around it, or tie a rag around it, and that'll help soak up some of the blood so you're not dribbling it down all over. When you're in the woods and you cut yourself, be very, very careful, especially if you're in bear or cougar territory, and wolves also. If they smell blood, they'll of course come for you for food. So you really need to be sanitary with blood and things like that. Wash regularly. Try and I can give you a whole course on bear aware, and I'm going to do that at some other time, because that's just a whole probably a good hour right there. So there's a lot to know about that. But anyway, when you're dealing with blood, that's one main thing to keep in mind. And you want to bury all your old bandages, and you want to bury them far away from where you're sleeping. So just some little tips. So we go down. Of course, we've got just a little trail. We're headed towards the stream and Lachlan Lake. If I could find some ocean spray, it'd be nice. I could show you, but I know there's some down there at the Oh, here no, that's not any ocean spray. There's a bunch of honeysuckle. That's all that twingly stuff. Nice thing about honeysuckle is, of course, when it's flowered, this is all honeysuckle. This viney stuff. And you can, of course, suck the sap from the flowers. So, it's kind of interesting. So, get on to lots of cedar here. Here we go. Here's grand fir. Oh no, this is a Douglas fir. Sorry, it just doesn't have a lot of light. I thought these were laying flat for a minute. Grand fir looks very similar to this, but all the needles lay flat. They're not in a circular type of motion or growth. This is Scotch broom. This green stuff, it's absolutely useless. It's a weed. It came from Scotland. Some Scottish guy came, he decided he'd have a plant in his yard, and it took over like wildfire. Just rampant here, and Conservancy's been trying to get rid of it. In my opinion, when that hillside that I showed I'm going to be showing in another video if I end up doing it, there's a hillside that they logged, more or less. They ripped all the trees down. And when this becomes a eroded zone, like I predict it will, they should plant a bunch of broom there, because it's going to be the only thing that's going to hold the hillsides when all these trees end up dying with climate change and what they're doing. So, just one little thought I had. But anyway, yeah, there's not much that's going to be here, so I'm going to turn this off and we'll go to part 2, where we get into some of the poisonous plants.